Hey folks, my name is Darren Blair, and since I'm off the clock right now, I'd like to be able to speak a little more frankly about certain subjects. Here's one of them. One thing I sometimes run into when I read reviews done by other reviewers or read criticisms done by different people, particularly in movies but also TV shows, is a little something called the Bechdel Test. The Bechdel test was first coined in the 1980s in an effort to determine how, quote-unquote, progressive a film is in the way it depicts female characters, root out whether or not a film has any gender bias or anything else like that. The test is simple. Two female characters engaging in a conversation with each other, usually for a minimum period of time, without mentioning any of the men in their lives, and sometimes you also see people add in another extra caveat in the form of things relating to their men or items like that. I'll be linking to the knowyourmeme.com page for a fuller explanation of matters. On the surface, the Bechdel test seems to be pretty common sense. If the female characters in a film can't go for more than a few minutes without talking about their guys, they're pretty much attachments to their guys. It falls apart pretty quickly, however, when you realize that the test is ultimately very narrow and unrealistic. To begin with, what happens if you have a movie that has either few female characters or no female characters at all? As a recent example, take the film Captain Phillips. It's based on a real event in which pirates seize a merchant ship. The pirates and the ship crew were all male. About the only female characters you see are Captain Phillips' wife in the opening sequence, and if memory serves, a couple of newscasters. Even though the film, from what I understand, is generally regarded as being very good, I myself gave it an 8 out of 10. Because there are no female characters having a conversation, the film automatically fails. Period. A note, and that's the same thing with any other based on real events stories which either don't have enough female characters to meet the test standards or don't have any female characters at all. So the 33, 13 hours, all those other films automatically fail simply because. And it also doesn't factor in things like period pieces set during times and place where there is gender segregation, meaning that if it follows certain groups, the groups may be male only. Say, World War II movies dealing with combat forces. Automatic failure. Say, Saints and Soldiers, the original. Something like 19 independent film awards, if memory serves. A very well-written, very progressive tale about soldiers in war dealing with matters of faith and religion and whether or not the enemy should be seen as being human. You have a mother and a daughter who are there for a couple scenes. You have some female civilians that appear in a hallucination or dream sequence. That's it. Well-regarded film that is very progressive in its message, instant fail. Or even some vintage movies are going to be an instant fail. Top Gun, for example. Top Gun was filmed back before the United States Navy had a gender-integrated F-14 fleet. So, the women who are hanging around the pilots, since the pilots are all male, what do the women have in common other than F-14s and the guys who fly them? Basically, that film fails too. The list of films that pass the Bechdel test without any debate, and if you were to make a Venn diagram, have one circle be list of films that are generally regarded as being good, or a list of films that were very high earners, very successful. Another circle be Bechdel test compliant films. That middle spot in the middle is going to be pretty darn small. And yet, I'm hearing people who are using Bechdel compliance as a major standard. If a film's not Bechdel compliant, they don't want to bother with it, or if they do bother with it, they're automatically going to presume the worst of it. Folks, this is why I try to tell people that having tests like this, there's no real reason to. You're eventually going to hit a situation where it's too narrow. It doesn't apply to whatever it is you're looking at. There needs to be exceptions, or there are entire categories of films that don't work right. Something to that effect. That's also why really movie reviewing is subjective. You try and put objective measures to whether a movie is good or not. You're gonna have rough patches, things that don't entirely fit. Ultimately, folks, when it comes to movies, TV shows, video games, books, the main standard you should be looking at is 1, do you like it? 2, why or why not? That's it. Don't like or dislike something just because somebody else tells you to like it or dislike it. I myself openly admit, hey, I'm just one person, one voice, one opinion. There are others who may, and very often do, disagree. Take things with a grain of salt. So for those of you who still adhere to the Bechdel test, if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes in the comments to explain why you feel it's such a big deal. Oh, see ya.